Hi, so in this video, I'm just going to explain in a little bit more depth what's going on with question 21 from the last game in the May 2020 LSAT Flex sample. Okay, so this is a sequencing game, but it's got a bit of a twist to it because we actually have only 6 plays during an 8-day festival. So there are 6 players and 8 positions. The first 2 rules tell us which positions have to be occupied by like a single player each. So 1 and 5 are occupied by the same player, and 2 and 7 are occupied by the same player. So this is the first kind of set of rules that is going to come into play when we deal with the question-specific condition for question 21. So with all question-specific conditions, right, so those are the ones where we have, it starts with if, right? We get this little setup and then they ask us a question. So they're giving us kind of some new information that we have to put into the scenario. So if Hapgood is performed on day 2, so I'm going to be looking at rules that mention Hapgood and day 2. So the first rule that mentions one of those things is rule 2, which says the play performed on day 2 must also be performed on day 7. All right, so that means that if Hapgood is on day 2, Hapgood is also on day 7. All right, so I am just gonna kind of move these around so that it's a little bit more clear, what day that's on in my diagram. All right, so I've dealt with rule 2. Macbeth and Othello cannot be performed on consecutive days. I don't have enough information about those guys to add them into my diagram yet. Moving on to the next rule. Now I see Hapgood is mentioned. That's positive. I'm thinking, oh, okay, well, I know where Hapgood is. For at least one performance of Hapgood, the next play performed must be Macbeth. So Macbeth has to be on either day 3 or day 8 in this case, right? So for at least one of these performances, Macbeth is the next one. There is a reason that we actually can't have Macbeth on both of those days, and that's because that would make M the second player that's doubled. So 2 of the players have to be doubled, but we know one of those players is 2 and 7, in this case H. The other player is 1 and 5, not 3 and 8. So M is going to be 3 or 8, not both. All right, next rule. There must be a performance of Jitney at some time before there is any performance of Hapgood. So that tells me for sure that J has to be first so that H could be second and we don't break that rule. So J is first. Because J is first, J is also fifth. Okay. All right. So my next thing would be trying to place M. The other players that I have are L and G. Okay, M and O can't be on consecutive days. So, if M is third, then O can't be fourth. So that's something. If M is eighth, then, O could be in any of the other empty spots. So we do have some options here. This is a could be true question. So we're just looking for possibilities. So once I've added everything into my little diagram here that I know for sure to be true, what I'm left with are possibilities. I want to keep in mind, of course, that M is either on 3 or on 8. But other than that, we've got things, pretty open. M and O can't be side by side. But L and G, no rules about them. They can pretty much go anywhere as long as the other guys aren't stuck side by side. So could it be true that G is on day 1? No. right? J has to be on day 1. Could J be on day 3? No, we already found out J is on day 1, which means it's also on day 5. So, okay, so, we have to have at least one of each because exactly 6 plays will be performed. They will be performed for sure, right? It's not that they can be performed or could be performed, they will be performed. So A and B are both out. Let's get our mouse back and cross those guys off. All right, could L be on day 8? Right, so if we put L on day 8, let's actually give this a go. So let's say we put L on day 8, then M is going to have to be on day 3 because its only options were 3 and 8. And then we have G and O left over. O can't be beside M, so it would be over here, which would mean, of course, that G is beside M, and this would be our final lineup. Okay, so L on day 8, totally fine, no problem with that. Right, so I can go ahead and choose that. Now let's figure out why the other one wouldn't work, right? So we've got these guys. We knew J was 5th. We knew H was 7th. Okay, so that's our starting position again. M performed on day 4. Now, the issue with that is if M is on day 4, it's not the next play after H, and that has to happen at least once. Also, we're not going to be able to have more than one M in this group because J is twice and H is twice, and we have to fit M, O, L, and G in the remaining 4 spots, right? So we can't have doubles of anybody else besides the 1 and 5 double and the 2 and 7 double, right? So that's why D is wrong. O on day 5, that can't happen because J is on day 5. Okay. So yeah, M can't be on day 4. But yeah, J is already taking day 5 because J had to be on day 1 so that it was before any performance of H. All right, so that's a more detailed look at solving question 21. Okay, so hopefully that helps. And if we just want to double check that, that C is the correct answer. Okay, yeah, hope that helps. Let me know if you have any other questions, and yeah, or any other games or anything you're interested in, just leave me a comment and let me know, and I'll try to make a video when I can. Okay, have a good one.